And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, a decade ago, Friedemann Friese designed a game called Fauna. And in Fauna, I first heard about this. It was nominated for the Spiel des Jahres. And basically they said, it's a trivia game. And I was like, a trivia game nominated for the Spiel des Jahres? Well, I eventually got around to playing it, and lo and behold, it really was an excellent game. They then remade the game a few years ago called Terra, which Fauna was all about animals and figuring out stats about animals. Terra took it about the world. Well, now we have a more specific one where Ted Alspach fixed it up a little bit, added a couple things to it, and now it's called America, a trivia party game where close counts. That's right. Close counts in hand grenades, water balloons, horseshoes, and there's actually quite a few things close counts in, but now it also counts in this game. Yes, it's a trivia game, but it's a trivia game where you don't need to know the exact answer. You can even just guess and possibly get the answer correctly. It's a pretty entertaining game. I really enjoyed Fauna, and I really enjoyed Terra, and America takes American trivia, and even if you're not an American, I think you could still have a pretty good guess at it, or if you are an American, you have like almost no chance at some of the questions also. You'll see what I mean. Take a look at how the game plays. Player starts the game with 5 cubes, and then you also have a cube on a scoring track, and you have a map of the United States here. It's a two-sided one. This one doesn't have the name of the states there. I guess if you want a nicer looking map, possibly. I kind of like it with the state abbreviations on myself. Then there's also a year track here, which goes from 1492 to 2015, and each space basically is from that year to the last year before it. So this is 1492 to 1699. 1700 to 1724. And down here we have the same thing, but numbers that go from 0 to 1 billion. Then there's also no exact and no exact or adjacent for each of these 3 sections. Now the game takes place with 6 cards, and I'm going to try not to spoil any of this here. I mean, I'm obviously going to be showing the questions, but just of a few of them, but I'm not going to show you the answers. So like for example here, when it's your turn, you're going to look at both sides of the box, and you're going to say, okay, you can ask the questions about this side, or you can ask questions here about Adobe. So here for Adobe, you might want to know, what year was Adobe founded in? What state is it located in? It shows you that it's in the western half of the United States. And what are the number of tools in Illustrator 1.1? Other questions might be the Mary Tyler Moore Show. What's the premiere? What year did it premiere? What location of the state? And again, it shows you that was in the western half of America. And what's the age of Mary Richards in the first episode of the Mary Tyler Moore Show? There's historical things, or geographical. Key Largo. Although Bertie Higgins' Key Largo song, what year was it released? What state is Key Largo in? What's the population of Key Largo? Or things that are just silly or American. Tater tots. What year were tater tots invented? What is the first state to produce tater tots? What's the pounds of tater tots that's consumed annually? So let's talk about the tater tot one, okay? So tater tots are invented when? So on your turn, you can say, oh, I think tater tots were invented in 1950, between 1950 and 55. So you can put your token there. Or you can say, I think tater tots were invented in Iowa. Or you can say tater tots, I think there's 10,000 pounds of them are consumed annually. And each player is going to, in turn, after the person picks the question, each other player is going to take turns putting cubes on the board. And so let's say that there's 3 players playing here, and these are the numbers that they put on the board. And then we read the answer, and I'm going to make up answers. Let's say tater tots were invented in 1976, the year I was born, which is probably not true. Well, Blue nails that because he put it on 1975, which is from 1975 to 1980. So Blue gets 7 points. If another player, let's say Red, was next to that spot, Red would get 3 points for being in an adjacent spot to the right answer. Now, let's say nobody was in the right spot, then Blue would have got 7 points because no one's in the right spot or next to the right spot. The same thing with states. Let's say the state was Kansas, where tater tots were invented. Well, then if anyone had put their thing in Kansas, they would get 7 points. Anyone next to Kansas would get 3 points. And again, you would get points here if no one was in that exact spot or exact or adjacent. And then finally at the bottom, let's say it was 10 million pounds of tater tots consumed annually. Well, then no one would get any points at all, except Blue said no one would get it exactly in the right, so Blue would get 3 points. Now, when you get any points at all for your token, that token comes back to you. If you didn't get any points, that token's discarded. At the end of a round, each player gets 1 token back, or if they have less than 3, they'll draw up to 3. So you always start each turn with 3, but you could have up to 5 tokens to place on the board. You can stop anytime you want, or you can place as many tokens out. So usually on the 6th round, you play through 6 different cards, you put out all your tokens, although having tokens left over can be a tiebreaker. And you just add up the points. After each round, you'll pick another card. So maybe after Tater Tots, we'll talk about college football, when the Rose Bowl began, or the most Division 1A teams, or the most yards rushed in a single game. Or we'll talk about corn dogs, the first National Corn Dog Day, etc. And there are 160 cards. Both of them are double-sided, so there's 320. If you use 6 cards in a game, that's a good 53 games that you can play with different questions. Anyway, most points, you're the winner. Now, honestly, America is better than Terra and Fauna for one major reason. It's not the subject matters a little bit, not because it's America against the world, but because Fauna was all about animals. And I've played Fauna against people who knew a lot about animals, and they just wrecked me. Terra is about history and animals, and it was more widely varied. Well, America is about history and animals and pop culture and corn dogs, okay? There's all sorts of crazy nonsense in here, and it's dumb trivia sometimes, and I like that. And it just, okay, so I have to admit I like that a little bit better than the other 2 ones, although Fauna was certainly educational, and so was Terra. This one is maybe less educational, although there's some history and things that you can learn from here. But the main reason is the spaces on the board that show the no exact space or the no exact or adjacent space. That is a small change that they made to the game, but it is a change that really helps. In this game now, usually with these kinds of games, you're like, I don't know, I'll just guess. And I always tell my kids that there's some states that are better than others. Iowa and Tennessee are great because they are connected to a whole lot of other states. But you can make some educated guesses, but at the same time, if you're just randomly guessing, someone else might say, you know what, I don't think anyone's going to get it right. And that's a good guess in itself. And because of that, someone usually gets points every round. I played games before where hardly anyone got points the whole game because everyone just guessed wrong. Oh, that animal was in South America, and we're all guessing around in Africa. But here, you think everyone's guessing wrong, well, you can say no one got the exact, or no one got exact and adjacent. And sometimes the answers in this game really surprise you and lead to some kind of laugh out loud moments. This is a cool trivia game that handles up to 6 players and handles that pretty well. But at the same time, you can play with 2 players. And like I mentioned, the replayability, what was it, 53 games? That's a lot of different games you can get from one box. And probably by the time you get to the 53rd game, you'll have forgotten some of the trivia from the previous games. In fact, one of the things I found interesting about the game was that the game comes with 2 decks of cards that says put them on both sides. And again, you can pick from either side. So I might think about college football, American Revolution, Costco, beef jerky, Mission Impossible, asteroids, Richard Nixon, boardwalks, microwave oven, root beer, DC Comics. Or on this side, I might be talking about Monopoly, Star Trek, The Terminator, Hershey Kisses, Rocky Balboa, drones, Atari 2000, Volunteer State, Halo, Sweet Tea, Roller Skates, Dairy Queen, Dexter, United States Senate, The Scarlet Letter, Butch Cassidy. All that stuff, but they're all mixed together. You don't have to shuffle them, which is good, because if you pull them out of this box, you might see the answers. And I really tried my best not to spoil any of that for you so you can play it. And because of that, you look at this one and go, oh, it's pop culture. We might know that one. Oh, that one's historical. This one's corn dogs. That's my 3rd category, is corn dogs. We got history and pop culture and corn dogs. And that's really kind of what the categories are, and I really enjoy that mix. And again, you're like, well, I don't know what state that's in. Maybe New York. Well, you know what? I'll guess New York, and you might be right. Or it might be next to one of the states that is correct. So this is a great trivia game. It doesn't outstay its welcome. It lasts 6 turns, which is just enough. Everyone is out there. There's a bit of good mechanisms where you can bid all 5 of your cubes, but then you're only going to get 3 back at the end if you're wrong on most of them. You can bid just a few of them, hoping to get more, maybe for a question where you want to get more points. You think someone else knows the answer. You're like, huh? He looked really confident. I'm going to put my cube next to his. He might get 7 points, but I'll at least get 3 points. In fact, I'm going to put 2 cubes next to his answer. I'll get 6 points to his 7. Good game. Excellent game. Good packaging. Looks good. America. But despite the whole America thing, it really is a lot of cool, fun trivia in here from the United States of America, which is a vast, wide land full of all kinds of cool trivia. So get this one. Get it if you like trivia. Get it if you don't like trivia. Because it's a good game underneath all that and works well with families. And the smartest person in your family may not be the winner, and that's a good thing. Dice Tower Judgment. Excellent!
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door!